Hi, I'm here with Philip Ingram of Hare Media. It's a pleasure to speak with you. We're very interested in this current time to think about some longer term implications of last night's incident on Capitol Hill. It's a pleasure to see you. What are your initial thoughts?
Hi, Pelham. Good to see you as well, and thank you for inviting me on. It was shocking. The pictures that we've seen are absolutely shocking. Before I go on, I'd just like to say to anyone that's watching this, this is my opinion based on what we've seen in the press, some of the coverage that there's been on social media. We don't have all of the facts, so I often criticize people for making comment on not having all of the facts, and here's me about to make comment on stuff where I don't have all of the facts in front of me. But there's enough out there, I think, where we can bring the implications of what has happened in and put some concerns around it, if nothing else.
Absolutely. And, just for me to always point out, I don't have any judgment over the police in this matter because, I was not there and I haven't seen all of the footage. And what we are going on is anything that we do have. So what's very interesting to explore is perhaps not really the cause, but the future. And the future, industrial espionage and technical surveillance countermeasures, TSCM, that we're going to have to look into, given that we've had people who are not security cleared going throughout a range of sensitive areas. It's quite unprecedented, isn't it?
It is very unprecedented, and by setting the scene, and I'm not going to sort of comment on things from a political perspective or an operational policing perspective in any detail, but what this does is it shows the power of information, and information in the ability to stir up dissent and therefore physical action in a crowd. And we had the crowd that was marching on the Capitol Hill building as part of a protest for the results of the US election. It was the time whenever the votes were being counted to finally say that the new president is Joe Biden, and the crowd was anti that vote. They were stirred up by a speech that had come from President Trump some hours beforehand, and then they marched on the Capitol building. When they got the Capitol building, it's clear that the police weren't aware of that level of activity coming towards them. It would be very easy to criticize their preparations. We don't know what, and I don't know what their preparations were, but the reaction certainly seemed to be, from the television pictures alone, very isolated police officers trying to react to things that were going on, and almost a panic. And there didn't seem to be a coordinated response. Maybe there was, but we didn't see it until the FBI came in a coordinated way, and New York police came in, Washington police came in a coordinated way, that would suggest that there had been a failure in planning and preparation and intelligence that this was going to go on, and that's led to the wider implications of what's happened now that the building's been breached.
It is very sad. And of course, thoughts to individual officers who would have dealt with really great difficulties and decision making as a lone security professional. It's always really difficult. So let's think about what we could draw out of all of this. We know that people with no security clearance from a variety of backgrounds have gone throughout the Capitol. We know that there are very sensitive areas there. People talk about Nancy Pelosi and the Gang of Eight and top secret clearance types of areas. People are talking about theft of information and hard drives, and the possibility that people have installed various either radio frequency or digital bugs. Is that just speculation, or is there any truth to it?
Well, we don't know whether there's any truth to it, so I'm going to speculate an answer. But the answer would be yes, it's all there. And let me start off with the top secret material. I don't think, or I'd find it highly unlikely that any top secret material will have been compromised in any way, shape, or form, because the way top secret material is handled, you have to go to a special room with additional security clearances and additional locks and all the rest of it that will not allow easy break-in into it, coming into a building to read top secret material, or if top secret material is brought to you in an office, it's in a known office, it's in a swept office, it's brought to you, you read it there and then while someone is watching you read it there and then they take it away and keep it in a much more secure environment. So it's unlikely that there would have been top secret material lying around that the protesters or anyone else could have got access to. But there will have been an awful lot of sensitive material. You know, we've seen in the pictures, we've seen files strewn all over the floor. We've seen computers that have been unlocked where email addresses or the email programs have been up there for people to look at and all the rest of it. We've seen offices of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, one of the most sensitive offices because she will see everything, whether it's legislative material that's going through or opinion material that's going through and influencing things from a political perspective. So we have to assume from there that, you know, every building or every room within that building has potentially been compromised, and certainly every room where protesters got into. The next question is who? You know, people will say, oh, these are just protesters. They're not going to come in with sophisticated devices or anything else. Well, it goes back to my opening bit about this being part of an orchestrated protest campaign since the election. That will have been watched by hostile intelligence services, primarily Russians, Chinese. There will have been influence from North Korea, Iran, and other organizations. Whilst they won't necessarily have diplomatic centers in the United States, they will have people that are operating as influencers, if not agents, within the Washington, because it's the seat of the US government. And they will have been watching this, and they will have, I would eat my hat if they hadn't infiltrated the protest groups as genuine, in inverted commas, protesters, so that they could find out what is going on, potentially stir things a little bit more, but look for opportunities. And they'll have seen this opportunity coming, and there will have been individuals within the crowd from hostile intelligence services and in from the press as well. Because, you know, if we look at, there was some fantastic footage came out from ITV News from the journalist Robert Moore. Robert Moore went in with a camera team, walking in with the crowds, and was interviewing the people as they were breaking into the building, when they were in the building, ripping Nancy Pelosi's name badge off her office, people in the offices, and he was physically interviewing them. You've got to remember the press with a big camera in there. You've got hundreds, if not thousands of people that are in there, many of them, as we saw, with cameras. So they have got recording devices, and large numbers of other people in the crowd who we don't know. And for them to get in there with devices that could be planted, with software that could be put onto systems. We saw unlocked systems with other capabilities that they could leave lying around, leaves a massive cybersecurity and TSCM threat that is going to take months and months and months to try and mitigate.
No, it sounds truly frightening, and as you say, not just state actors, any sort of actor, any opportunistic actor, or perhaps actors of fortune who simply have something now that might be of value to somebody. It's quite a scary process. Obviously, we don't know why it was so easy. Well, we think it was easy for them to gain access, and we don't know the extent to which they went throughout the building. How will they want to try and remedy this now? Is it a case of, I don't know, looking at single panes of glass and saying, do you know what, if there was a special transmitter, we need a meshed window like you do in a security environment? I've just plucked that out at random, but how are they going to resolve it and rebuild?
Well, I think this is the real difficulty. In the worst case scenario is rip the whole network out and put a network in from scratch with devices that are safe. They're going to have to carry out a full TSCM sweep. Now, a TSCM sweep, technical security countermeasures sweep, for those that are not technically minded. When I was in the military, I had a part of one of my units had a TSCM capability, and we're in there. And it's not someone going around an office with a little bug sweeper and it going beep, 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 and you go, yeah, it's all clear, boss, and walk out. It's taking apart every electrical installation, taking apart the flower pots to see that nothing's been put in there. They looking at every aspect of a table. If a screw can be unscrewed, looking at that to see that something hasn't been put in its place. Anything that's in it, and you look at the nature of the building that's there with all of the artifacts that are around, and something could be put anywhere. Now you'll start off with your priority bits, your most sensitive areas. You'll sweep those first of all and clear those first of all, but it takes days to properly sweep a complex office, not minutes and hours. It took it took minutes for the crowds to get into the building. It took hours for the police to get the crowds out of the building, and it's going to take days, weeks, and months before the building can be properly swept from a TSCM perspective. And then you've got the network headaches that are going to go on. Now they'll be done in parallel, but it's examining all of the endpoints that are there. So ranging from the computers to the CCTV cameras to the printers to anything that is potentially connected into the network, as well as examining the network itself, the storage, and any of the computers that could have been compromised, and where that network then goes out to, because there's nothing to have stopped if someone's accessed an email, from one of the senators, that senator's emails to have sent out something with a bit of malware on it. And the potential implications for this are huge.
Well, we all remember the Stuxnet example of the thumb drive in the car park. I'm sure things have moved on a long way. At our events, we get nice presentations about Category 5 microphones hidden inside a simple USB charger cable. So you mentioned testing cables, and I've seen a device where you have to actually go each prong in that USB cable. It's very time consuming, and maybe it's faster to just throw it out. Anyway, this is speculation, but it's kind of realistic speculation given what we have seen, if you know what I mean. So I think it's worthwhile doing.
It's definitely realistic speculation. It's very, very easy to put something in. You to swap a cable over, as you say, to put a little USB device into somewhere. The back of a printer that is in a little office that nobody ever looks at, and all the rest of it. How many people check the printers out, or the photocopier, or something else that are all connected to the network? Every single device that's in there is going to, or you go to the CCTV cameras. How many CCTV cameras have got, as part of a backup device within the camera, a micro USB stick that is sitting in there, so that if the network fails, you can get the footage off that camera. A lot of them have it. Well, swap one micro USB out and put another micro USB in, and you're in the network. And remember, we've just had the SolarWinds breach that's breached a lot of US government and US Department of Defense capabilities. Now, if I was to be a conspiracy theorist, you've got SolarWinds that has breached the networks already. So there are known vulnerabilities in there. You've now got the ability to get into the endpoints in some of the most sensitive areas, with other potential breaches that have been put in there. Put the two together, and you've got a big in to the whole US government system. Now, pure speculation, but the Machiavellian in me would suggest that if that had been planned or on standby from an opportunist perspective, then it's there.
Wow. Well, big thoughts, big food for thought, but perhaps more constructive thought than a lot of the wild, I don't know, rumor mill that's been going on these last few days. So perhaps it's more productive to think in those terms. Philip, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really hope that none of these doomsday scenarios come to pass, and maybe that's an optimistic look for the year ahead. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I do hope we have a safe and peaceful new year. The start certainly hasn't been, but we can only, our thoughts can be with only those that have been injured or killed, no matter what side they were on and what their beliefs are in the horrible events that we've seen in Washington and again across the globe. And we just hope that it isn't going to be exploited too much, and that we can have a safe 2021 as possible during a pandemic that is causing enough problems by itself.
Indeed. Philip, it's been great. I will catch you soon.
Pelham, real pleasure.